Hello, you're watching TVP World News. I'm Elon. An investigation has revealed that the Russian tanker, which was detained by a Finnish border guard in the Baltic Sea earlier this week, was kitted out with spy equipment. Special devices used to receive and transmit naval activity have since been seized.
High-tech equipment was found on board the Russian tanker Eagle S. Authorities investigating the case have since dubbed it a spy ship. The ship was just one of several others purchased after Russia launched the full-scale war in Ukraine in order to circumvent sanctions and illicitly trade oil. Meanwhile, Finnish customs officials secured some 35,000 tons of unleaded gasoline, which the ship had refueled in Russian ports near St. Petersburg. The vessel was headed for Egypt at the time of the incident.
Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico has said that Ukraine will pay the price should Kyiv halt the transit of Russian gas to Slovakia. Kyiv consistently refuses to renew a transit deal with Moscow, which expires at the end of the year.
As 2024 draws to a close, Slovakia has been working to preserve Russian gas supplies through Ukraine in 2025. Slovakia says alternative routes would sharply drive up costs and hit its own transit operations, causing it to lose some €500 million in fees, according to Fico. Meanwhile, he says the costs for the bloc could reach €120 billion in 2025-2026 from higher prices, not only for the gas, but also electricity production from the fuel. He laid the blame on Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Fico has also reassured that his country would examine the possibility of taking what he called reciprocal measures against Ukraine.
The White House has said that the Azerbaijan Airlines jet, which crashed earlier this week in Kazakhstan, killing 38 people on board, could have been shot down by Russian air defense. John Kirby, the White House spokesperson, says early indications suggest it was misidentified as an incoming drone.
Several U.S. military sources have said that Russia was responsible for the deadly crash, but declined to say much more. The White House has offered assistance to the investigation as it continues. The Azerbaijan Airlines flight was carrying 67 passengers when it crashed on Wednesday in Kazakhstan. Rashad Nabiev, Azerbaijan's Minister of Digital Development and Transportation Minister, cited experts who say that a weapon hit the plane as it was preparing to touch down. Russia had earlier said that a drone attack was underway in the same region where the plane was headed for a landing.
Ukraine has received its first shipment of liquefied natural gas from the United States. The war-torn country joins the broader European effort to reduce reliance on Russian fossil fuels. The country's largest private energy company, DTEK, received the shipment via the Mediterranean, with a vessel docking at a Greek LNG terminal on Friday. Europe obtains about 40% of its LNG imports from the US, but none have been directly purchased by Ukraine before. The shipment comes just days before the end of a 5-year deal, allowing the transit of Russian pipeline gas through Ukraine, and just weeks ahead of Donald Trump taking over as US president. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has urged China to pressure North Korea to stop contributing to the escalation of Russia's aggression in Ukraine. Zelensky highlighted the dangers to North Korean troops sent into battle with, and I quote, minimal protection.
Our soldiers managed to capture them, but they were very seriously wounded and could not be revived. This is one of the manifestations of madness that dictatorships are capable of. The Korean people should not lose their own in battles in Europe. This can be influenced by Korea's neighbors, particularly China. If China is sincere in its statements that the war should not expand, appropriate influence on Pyongyang is needed.
Let's not talk about Russian lies. All Putin does is send rockets, said Czech Foreign Minister Jan Lipavsky on Friday, rejecting Slovakia's proposal to mediate peace talks between Ukraine and Russia.
Russian President Vladimir Putin announced on Thursday that Slovakia is ready to host negotiations following the visit of Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico to Moscow. This information was confirmed by his foreign ministry later on the same day. In response came the comments of the Czech Republic's Lipavsky, saying, "So far Putin has rejected all peace proposals and instead launched more attacks every day." This comes amid Ukrainian-Slovakian tensions over the main reason for Fico's meeting with Putin, who went seeking alternative ways for transporting Russian oil to Slovakia after the halt of the Ukrainian gas transit pipeline deal.
Congressman Joe Wilson on Friday extended an invitation to Georgian President Slobodan Zarabishvili to attend President Donald Trump's inauguration. Wilson called her the country's only legitimate leader, despite the fact that her ruling party-elected successor is set to take office as early as Sunday. Our correspondent Don Arleth is in Tbilisi. Hello, Don. So, can you tell us more about this? What impact will it have on mutual relations and on the situation in Georgia itself?
Yeah, that's a good question, Jonas. So, well, we see this as a really good step in the right direction. But we know that for at least the last 6 months, if not the last year, Vincent Ivanishvili has been preparing for these sanctions. Earlier in the year, when I was here in Georgia, they had passed this foreign agents bill, and along with that bill, they also included a provision to allow the repatriation of capital back here to Georgia without having to face taxes. And many people then were saying that this was Ivanishvili's way to get his money abroad and bring it back here to Georgia, as they were expecting sanctions to eventually be put in place. These sanctions have finally come through. This is a great step. The opposition here is very happy by the move from the United States, and they say that this will start to cause fissures within the ruling party and potentially even allow for some resignations. Now, snap elections coming up in a couple months, that's the main goal, to have new fresh round of elections. And as was mentioned, President Zarabishvili being invited to Donald Trump's inauguration is also a good sign, saying that she is the only legitimate president. Now, that the president-elect, Kavalashvili, who they are expecting to put in the presidential palace tomorrow, well, this is going to be one of those events that we're going to be looking at very closely to see exactly how they treat Zarabishvili. The Prime Minister has earlier said that he will arrest President Zarabishvili if she does not leave the presidential palace tomorrow. She's holding firm, though, and she is saying that she will stay there. She's the only legitimate president, the only leader of a democratic institution left here in this country. So tomorrow is going to be a very big day here in Georgia. Jonas?
Don Arleth, bringing us the latest from Tbilisi. Don, thank you very much for joining us here today. Now, moving on to our next story, Elon Musk, who has been tapped to lead President-elect Donald Trump's Department of Government Efficiency, has clashed with Trump's supporters online. At issue is the H-1B visa, which allows U.S. employers to hire foreign workers in specialty occupations, including IT and engineering. Musk has defended the H-1B visa program in the past, as opposed to Trump and his entourage. Musk argues that tech firms like Tesla and SpaceX need foreign workers to compete. Trump supporters online jumped on the bandwagon, defending the president-elect and his America First agenda. Trump has called these visas unfair to U.S. workers and went as far as implementing restrictions during his 2017-2021 presidency. Now, some critics of Musk's approach have found that their verified status on social media platform X has been rescinded, making it impossible to monetize their content there. Our guests on the Record predict that the Trump-Musk bromance is unlikely to last more than 6 months, while other well-known billionaires are trying to secure a spot on Trump's team.
Elon is also, he's growing too big for Donald Trump's liking. So I'm seeing here the end of this bromance.
Bromance. So 3 months, 6 months?
I would say 3 months max.
3 months.
I'll give it 6 months.
6 months.
But I do agree with that assessment. I mean, the U.S. has also had a history of presidents cozying up to big entrepreneurs, businessmen, and historically that has usually collapsed over time due to differing interests growing. And Jeff Bezos, for example, is already cozying up to Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is very well known for changing the staff that surrounds him.
It has been reported that U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has asked the U.S. Supreme Court to pause the enforcement of a law that would ban TikTok in the country. During a recent rally, Trump spoke about TikTok's role in his record-breaking youth vote and joked about keeping the platform around.
It was amazing. So we got the highest vote ever for a Republican candidate. We won by 36 points with young people. That never happens. A Republican loses by 36 or 40. So I'm going to have to start thinking about TikTok. I think we're going to have to start thinking. Because, you know, we did go on TikTok, and we had a great response with billions of views, billions and billions of views. They brought me a chart, and it was a record, and it was so beautiful to see. And as I looked at it, I said, maybe we got to keep this sucker around a little while, you know.
The Houthis in Yemen have launched a ballistic missile at Israel for the sixth time in over a week, this time targeting Jerusalem and the Dead Sea, or the Dead Sea area specifically, where our correspondent ZelinskyUrges just happened to be spending the night. We go live to her right now to get more information. Diana, can you tell us more about what happened? And also the reports that Israel apparently used an American missile defense system battery for the first time to intercept the incoming missile.
Yarosh, it's almost as though no matter where I get away, even if it's farther from Tel Aviv, I mean, the sirens and the Houthis keep targeting somewhere where I'm located. Now, of course, this is the first time that the Houthis actually sent the ballistic missile towards this area. We're talking about Jerusalem, the Negev area, the Dead Sea area, Arad, and all that. We're not too far also from seeing Jordan behind us as well. Now, it's not immediately clear what their target was. However, we do know that the Negev area does host an Israeli nuclear facility. However, there's no reports on that. There have been no reports of injuries as well, only on anxiety. I mean, we had to rush to shelter at 2:15 towards 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, what we do know, though, is that reportedly the THAAD, the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense System, which was displaced in Israel after the 1st of October, after Iran had sent a ballistic missile on Israel, was launched and intercepted before any falling debris could actually land in Israel. However, the military still doesn't state whether it was Israeli defenses or this American new defense system that was the one that intercepted this missile. And let's be reminded, this is, of course, the sixth night that it happens within under 2 weeks. And this also coming in after Israel launched their attack and airstrikes in Yemen, including targeting the airport. Jonas?
ZelinskyUrges with the latest report from Israel. Diana, thank you very much for joining us, and of course, stay safe. And with this, we conclude this news bulletin. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.